Music lovers with an ear and an eye for urban lore are in for a real treat with the Season 2 podcast launch of Any Night of the Week, a walking history of Toronto music. Episode 3, Dundas West. And here with more is Wavelength Music co-founder, artistic executive director, and virtual walking tour host, Johnny Dovercourt. Good morning, Johnny.
Morning, George. How you doing?
I'm great. Happy pre-New Year to you, too.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
So, the podcast backstory is also the book, right? Tell us about Any Night of the Week, a DIY history of Toronto music, 1957 to 2001, how that all led to this.
Thanks. Well, here's a copy of the book, and it came out in March of 2020 on Coach House Books. Not great timing, but I managed to connect with an audience online. And the book was really a 44-year history of the local music scene, going through all the different neighborhoods and important music venues where our local homegrown artists were able to perform and really develop a voice for local music here in Toronto. And I was invited by the Toronto International Festival of Authors to adapt the book into a podcast form last fall. So the podcast really takes the form of a virtual walking tour. So you can listen to the podcast and walk down the street, and you'll listen to my voice telling you the story of what was happening at these different important venues. So in season 1, there's a tour up Yonge Street, taking you past Massey Hall and long gone spaces like Le Coq d'Or. One of my favorites is the Queen West tour, which starts down near the City TV building,
right.
which you, of course, and many viewers may remember from the Electric Circus days.
Oh, yes.
But prior to that, in the mid-'70s, the punk and new wave scene in Toronto got started across the street at the Beverly Tavern, and then moved down the street to places like the Horseshoe Tavern and the Bamboo, and places that are still there like the Rivoli and the Cameron House. And so that was the first season, which is really based on the book. And then I was invited by Show Love to a new city program that was started last year to provide people with options of things to do while we were in lockdown, because last winter, there wasn't a lot of entertainment options. So the idea of the walking tour was really appealing to people. We all discovered our love of walking in the great outdoors in the last year. So getting to combine that with learning about cultural history was really interesting for a lot of people. So season 2 is supported by Show Love TO, and there's a new run of episodes that just came out this past fall, and taking you and the new tours take you beyond the downtown core and also sort of outside the historical scope of the book and more into the present. So there's one tour along through the East End, taking you to places like the Opera House and the Danforth Music Hall. The second episode actually goes to Scarborough, to where there's maybe less venues, but a lot of artists arose from Scarborough. And I take you to a graffiti mural that was in an important video by the artist Danny-O, hip hop artists. And then the latest episode, Dundas West, really takes you sort of on a view of the future of where Toronto music is going, because Dundas is kind of like the new Queen West.
Right.
There's hip new venues, old venues from the last decade, like the Dakota Tavern, where there's a vital roots music scene, and the Garrison, which is kind of the home of the indie music scene, and then Lula Lounge, which is really the ground zero for the Latin and global music scenes in Toronto.
Johnny, for an old street urchin like me, who's been here and worked the street club scene and the cultural dynamic of this city now for 30 plus years, it's just a great living anthology of some of the stuff that and the venues and the people and the places that we don't want to see forgotten. I think it's just wonderful, including the latest one, the Dundas West, because this is a real singular amalgam. I lived in that hood for a while. The culture, the music, the Portuguese, Brazilian, Italian, West African. What a delicious global gumbo we've got in this city.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many places that local music can go, but it really needs a lot of support, especially right now as we're entering what's probably another lockdown. And all these venues work so hard to get back up and running in the fall, and now they're looking at shutting down again. And it's just it's so heartbreaking. So this is a great way to
Indeed.
support Yeah, just to learn about music and support support the venues while they're shut down. But the most important thing is to help them out financially while they're in lockdown.
You know your passions there, the appetite's there, and it's a great way for locavores, as they're called, to live and learn, shop in, and support their own backyards and small business as well. Last thing, Johnny, before we go, how do people log in and get involved with these tours?
Go to wherever you get your podcasts and search any night of the week, and it'll come up.
Awesome.
And pop right into your earbuds.
Johnny Dovercourt, such a pleasure. Thanks so much for all you do
George.
to keep these stories of our city alive, and have yourself a happy new year, okay?